75 South, and I'm headed into Allen Park.
Who are you talking to?
So, I have a vet appointment, and I mean, it would be a really beautiful drive, except I did it yesterday, and now I have to do it again. But I really want to talk to you about the importance of finding an emergency vet that's actually an emergency vet, because Louis ended up getting into grapes, and I thought it was okay until I looked it up and saw that it's very toxic to dogs. And then we proceeded to look at like a lot of videos. Some say that they're not exactly sure why it's toxic, and some say that 9% of the dogs that do have grapes, can have renal failure, which is your kidneys, and have serious consequences. It's considered an acute condition, which means that it's a sudden onset versus a chronic condition that happens over time. And when I realized that they were toxic to dogs, I immediately called the emergency vet in our area, thinking that I could just bring Louis in and they would be able to take care of him and see him. Well, that's not how it works. In situations like that, you have to call poison control. Poison control also includes a $95 fee. I know in Michigan it is that. I don't know if it's the same price in other areas, but it's a $95 fee just to talk to a clinician or a veterinarian tech or someone in the veterinarian field. So supposedly it's not just talking to, a random person that has some animal experience, but you're actually talking to someone that has experience in the veterinarian field. And after waiting on the phone for over an hour, I was just like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. This was happened at about 10:15 at night, and by the time we had kind of gone through things and looked up, I called the emergency vet immediately, and they told me to do a mixture of half a teaspoon of hydrogen peroxide per 10 pounds. So Louis is 22 pounds, so that would mean a tablespoon. And then after 20 minutes to give him another dosage of another tablespoon. I did that 3 times to induce vomiting so that he would vomit up the grapes. However, he didn't vomit at all. And so by the time I looked up to try to see activated charcoal, which you can get at the pharmacy or your local store, everything was closed at that time, so that just didn't work either. Back to the emergency vet story, they told me that they wouldn't be able to take him unless I called poison control and got a case number, and then called them and told them that they suggested that I bring him in. So again, after waiting over an hour to try to talk to somebody, I didn't get through. I just went to the emergency vet. And there I was told that because Louis is a pug and a brachycephalic dog, that I have to be very careful with doing the peroxide because it can cause issues where they can't breathe. But I had already done it. And so she was like, I don't know who told you that. I'm on a shift change. And so it then became, well, I can't really take him in because we don't have the doctor staff that we need here. We only have one doctor, and they've been in surgery, and so we're just basically a facility that takes care of the animals that are already here for something else, and we can't take in the dog like that. We could try to squeeze him in, but we need to have the information from poison control in order to know what to do, because we don't have techs here that are specifically knowledgeable about poisonous issues. So I said to her, well, what happens if, he gets cut with glass, okay, so you're not going to deal with the poison issue if he gets cut with glass or something falls on him, or, you know, can I just immediately run him here? And then again, that's when she told me that they were basically, you know, taking care of the animals that were already here, and if they could try to fit him in, they would. So what is the purpose of an emergency pet hospital if you cannot do anything? Yet, I'm sure that they are charging emergency prices for situations that they're basically scheduling. Fast forward, I went back to call in the morning my normal vet, and she told me that she had never dealt with a situation where they weren't able to flush out the grapes within, you know, 2 to 4 hours. So right now it's already been 12. But she is going to give him an IV and give me some stuff for IV, and they will do a blood panel and make sure to see how his kidney function is right now and see if he has any issues. I did take Louis out in the morning because I had fed him after the grapes, not thinking that anything was wrong, but something said, you know what, I should just look just to make sure. And that's when I found out, but he had already eaten. So usually he goes to the bathroom in the morning for poo, and he didn't go this morning. And also he's not drinking, so that's a concern. So he probably does need the IV. And luckily my vet is open on Saturdays until 1 o'clock. So by the time I get there, I probably have about an hour left for them to kind of take care of him and do their thing. But the important thing that I do want to mention is to make sure to definitely read, look up anything before your pet gets into it or before you give him anything. Read and make sure that it's okay. Also, to call in your area an emergency vet and ask questions. Ask questions about if your dog gets poisoned, if your dog gets injured, and find out if this emergency supposedly vet is really capable of handling an emergency if your dog comes into one. Because as it was, they were telling me, well, you'll have to go to Lansing, or you know, there was another vet, I think it was probably 60-70 miles away, where they said that they have 7 or 8 doctors on staff, and they're usually prepared for these kind of situations. But where I am, they are not prepared for that. So you definitely do not want to go to a place where they are not prepared. You have an emergency and you're scrambling like we were, and basically with renal failure and eating grapes, it can be something that, you know, if he was a weaker dog, dogs as little as 18 pounds have passed away within 4 hours. So we've been very blessed, I'd say, with that not happening, and I thank God for that. But in the same token, you know, it has been 12 hours and I am worried. So I just wanted to give you that piece of advice about emergency vets.